Hello, everyone, and welcome into our latest live broadcast. It's the 7th of August, 2026. It's Friday. My name is Carey Holzman, and I've been a technician professionally in this industry since 1991, and 10 years prior to that, just a hobbyist. And I've been in this industry ever since. And I wanted to extend my experience and my knowledge out to the YouTube world because YouTube is mostly people having fun, and it's not a whole lot of people working. And, you can play soldier or you can be in the military. There's two very different consequences to whether or not you get to make decisions, what you're expected to do, and when it's expected to be done versus what you feel like doing. And I'm just here to point out there's a difference when you're watching content to be aware of which one you're watching. And that way you can gauge the material value as it applies to you and what your needs are or your expectations. So that's why I created the channel back in, gosh, when was this? 2009, I think January, right in the very beginning of 2009. And we've been here on YouTube pretty regularly ever since. And some of you, I'm sure, have been with me pretty much since day one. I'm referring, of course, to our live chat room that's going on right now. We certainly hope if you're watching us live, anywhere in the world, you'll pop into our live chat and say hello. We are an interactive video. We're not like most YouTube channels. We want to hear from you and live while we are broadcasting. And I do my best to acknowledge each and every one of you. It's not like it's one of those channels that says, oh, we've got a live chat room, and then they ignore it. I don't do that here. But I can't, can't force you to participate. I'm sure we have a lot more watchers who just watch silently. This isn't really intended for that kind of viewing. However, you're allowed to, but you'll get a lot more out of it, and so will we if you pop into our live chat and say hello. In fact, I'm going to do that right now and see who's joining us here already. We've got Sean Skinner and R. Roblu. Jonathan Fells and Bikemen, Jane Train 1 and Tim Davern saying hello. There's David Graham joining us along with Luke Greenia. Marlena is our channel administrator. She's in blue in the chat room. And she's saying hello to everybody. There's our friend Buster from Edinburgh, Scotland. That's Peter Laycock. Peter always sends us very kindly and very generously an Amazon gift card in lieu of providing a super chat, because YouTube takes 30% of all of any money you give YouTube. Membership money, super chats, whatever. YouTube takes 30% of whatever your gift is or your purchase. And then on top of that, they make the content creator wait 30 to 60 days for that to process before they hand it over. And what we use the money for here is we typically go on Amazon and we buy products we want to review, so we're not beholden to any corporation to control or compel our speech. As a real technician, I'll tell you whether or not, if you were my real customer, if I would recommend this computer, whatever it is, whatever thing we're reviewing, without any worry of consequence, just like in real life for my real job. I'm not obligated to tell somebody I like something or to say it a certain way or to avoid certain subject matter or to it'd be anything other than my honest self. Now, that doesn't mean I'm right. It's just my perspective and my values. So this makes it possible when people contribute Amazon gift cards, they cut out the YouTube middleman, because Amazon won't take any piece of it at all. And we get the money usually within 10 minutes, we get the gift card, and we're just spending it at Amazon anyway. So it's really thoughtful when people do that. And a special shout out, of course, to our friend Buster, who regularly contributes and has probably paid for more items you've seen on this bench than any other viewer, which is, basically like a benefactor to the channel. He's a very nice person. He's even provided computers to some of our viewers. And Buster joins us from Edinburgh, where he says it is 59 degrees Fahrenheit there in Scotland, which is 15 degrees Celsius. Man, I wish. We're going to have record heat here in Phoenix for the next 3 days, so bring on Monday. So I can say, I think we'll be under 110 finally on Monday, and maybe for the rest of the week. August is the worst. You just have to put your head down and push through it. And I know it's hot everywhere, but Yeah, come to Phoenix sometime and see if you like it. It's a dry heat. You mean like fire? Yeah. Jim Kenny says hello. There's Patrick Manny joining us as well. Bajin Guy says hello. Josper says hello. There's Andy W6AD and Tony Aindow joining us as well. Jack Kugelmis says hello from Toronto, where it's a 25 degrees Celsius temperature there in Canada. And there's Terrell Cochran. There's LRCX joining us. At 67 Jeff says hello. And I think that's everybody for right now. Now, we're going to follow up last Friday's video where I'm reviewing this $429 Kamrui Mini PC. With everything getting expensive, I don't have good news. Things are about to get more expensive. According to everything I'm seeing, I believe, is it Samsung already reported all the AI companies bought out everything they can make for RAM in 2027. That's already pre-sold. If that's true, then there's only 3 manufacturers in the world, right? There's Samsung and Micron and SK Hynix, I think. Is that it? There's some Chinese manufacturers coming online, but there's some issues, as with anything brand new. So if you think it's expensive today, you're going to wish you had bought. If all of this information that's being published by respectable tech journalist sites is accurate, then we won't see relief until 2028, at least as far as RAM and storage goes. Probably not much with GPUs either for the following year. I don't want to tell you this. I hope it's wrong. But be prepared either way is all I'm saying. Hope for the best, expect the worst, plan accordingly. And you might look back at a 429 computer with RAM and storage and think, wow, that was a steal. Maybe. I don't want that to be the case, but computer gaming is more or less collapsing in on itself. Another 12 months of this, I don't think there's going to be much left. The good news is, once this is past us, then rebuilding can start. So it's not like it's gone forever. The problem with the industry and being in business is once people step away, they often don't come back again. You know, when a car dealer doesn't want you to go home and think about it, right? The car dealer says, let's make the deal today. What do I got to do to get you in that car today? Because they know if you leave, the odds are you're not coming back again. So they've got to get you while they've got you. This is where we're at with consumer computer use and gaming. With businesses haven't changed. Businesses require computers. There was a store in the news, a grocery store, and I can't remember where in the United States it was, but their computer system went down and the lines started growing at the cash registers for people that had their cart full of groceries. They walked around for God knows how long and put what they wanted in their carts. And you can Google this. I just can't remember the name of the company. And it looked like the system was going to be down a while. Now, most companies would say, okay, sorry, folks, we're closed. Everybody has to leave. And that means that you're going to have to go to their competitor and reshop all over again for all those things you were about to buy. And then some employee is going to have to put all that stuff in your cart back until the systems come back up. Now, you can imagine what this costs a company compared to the price of a computer or the price of a tech like me to get things back up and running. So the reason I mentioned this story was what the owner or manager of the store did is they made an announcement and said, hey, we have to close the store. Please take whatever you've got in your cart and bring it up to the register now, right? So once everybody was up at the registers, then they said, okay, everything in your cart is free because we have no way to collect the payment. It's on us. So you got to be careful when you say that. You don't want to say it while anybody's still shopping. So this was stuff people were actually intending to buy. And rather than piss them off and send them to the competitor, they said, nothing we can do about this. Now I want you to think about how much that just cost the store. Financially, how much money did that store just lose? So whatever somebody had in their cart, 2 items or all the way up to the top, yours. Take it. It's our fault. We're down. You did all that shopping. We hope we'll see you again soon. And as the last customer left, they had locked the doors to prevent anybody else from coming in. After that, you've got to send your employees home. You can't afford to pay them. And then you've got to get, whatever the technical expense is to get that system back up and running. And every minute it's down, they continue to lose money. So as new customers are showing up at the door and the doors are closed during normal business hours, you're sending them to your competitor. How much money are they losing by not selling? How much money are they spending? So when you say how much is a computer, it's nothing. When you really think about just the scale of that, the cost of computers is nothing. But on the home user, the cost of computers is a significant portion of how much money people make, because we're not dealing at that scale. And so for that reason, we're seeing a complete like off the cliff fall of consumer purchasing for computers, except for, every once in a while, people maybe work from home, things like that, need a computer. But businesses haven't changed one iota. They'll pay whatever they have to pay. So since most of you are consumers, I assume you are, just understand what's happening in the marketplace, why it's happening, and that it's happening to everyone. It's not just you. And then, figure out how you want to deal with it. Okay, so that's what's going on. And if there's any updates to that, if anything changes, I will certainly let you know once I know. Okay. Now, last Friday, we were reviewing this for that reason. For $429, it seems like a really good deal right now. And as far as mini PCs go, it's pretty slim pickings. We focused on B-Link on Wednesday and how their site is basically not functional. Their drivers, they're trying to locate any supporter drivers for them is basically, well, just go watch the video. It's all recorded live. If you want to buy something without a warranty, without a guarantee, and without any support, I mean, that's on you. But if you would buy this or any of the other mini PCs, more or less, on Amazon, you would get warranty and support from the manufacturer's website. So if it's the same price, one with warranty and support and a working website, and another one equipped the same within a few dollars of each other, be aware of what you're buying. Check out the company's website, see if it works. Try and find contact information for support before you make the purchase. Even if they did have support last you checked, check them now. Because in the case of B-Link, from what I can tell, it looks like they're just offloading a bunch of their inventory and nobody's answering any phones and nobody's updating anything. And, well, again, if you really want to see how far they've fallen from grace, just watch Wednesday's video where we go through this live and all of the obstacles we hit. Now, I'm a technician and I can work around it, but I can't sell that to my customer without any guarantee unless I personally guarantee it. Of course I do. That means I'm the one that's going to take on all the expenses. Meaning if there's something wrong with the computer, it would normally just go back to the manufacturer for repair or replacement. If the manufacturer isn't responding, the customer doesn't care, right? They bought it from me. They expect me to repair or replace it at my expense. So when I tell you that I can't recommend it, it's not personal. It's just business. I simply can't afford to be B-Link support. I don't think you can either. But when you make any purchase of a mini PC or laptop today, if I were you, I'd check the status of the company on the day you buy just to see if they're up and running. Because the sales effect is causing massive losses to these companies. And so it's worldwide, by the way. It's not just, again, it's not just you and it's not just your country. This is around the planet. So these companies, they're struggling. And from the looks of things, B-Link is the first one to go. I can only speculate because they're not talking. All right, so I don't really know what's going on, but it never was like that before. So from the looks of things, we're looking at a death rattle. And if that's something you want to buy, know what to expect. If it happens to be on sale, and it's cheaper than the competitors, and you're willing to accept that condition, do so knowingly, make an informed decision. Not an option for me. That's all I'm going to say. All right. So our friends over at VIP-URCDKEYs are where I get my Windows and Office license keys when I build and repair computers, and my customers want Windows or Office. I've had a hard time trying to find legitimate license keys on the internet over the years. And Microsoft, their manufacturer suggested retail price has always been inflated preposterously. You're looking at $400 for a copy of Microsoft Office and $200 for a copy of Windows 11 Pro. Dell and HP and Lenovo aren't paying those prices. So when a customer asks me for a quote to have a system built, or even for the operating system, they're comparing prices, right? So if they can buy the operating system online for 20 bucks and I'm selling it for 200 bucks, who do you think they're going to buy it from? And what do you think they're going to think of me? And if I sold it at $200, that's with me making zero profit on it. So the people online that sell are often dealing with something sketchy. Maybe there's no support. Maybe you don't even get what you paid for. I once ordered a Windows 11 Pro, and instead I got a Windows 11 for workstations. It's the same installation of Windows, but when you put the product key in, it changes a bunch of group policy settings, and all the networking didn't work. When I tried to reach out to the company, the email bounced back as undeliverable. They took my money and ran. And that wasn't much, but the point is that it adds up. So I'm going from company to company to company, trying to find real license keys that are affordable from a company that'll back them up. I don't know how much I spent and how much time I spent, but I can tell you the folks at VIP-URCDKEYs, once I found them, they didn't find me, I found them. I reached out to them and I bought about 3 keys and ran them through the testing of everything I can think of. I even bought a key, waited a month before I activated it, and everything was fine. Everything activates online. Microsoft will not do phone activation anymore. I don't know if you got that memo, but a few months back, I think back in the first of the year, Microsoft said you activate online or you don't activate. So a lot of those sketchy keys that required you to make a phone call, those don't work anymore. The folks over at VIP-URCDKEYs, I talked to them about what I do and my YouTube channel, and asked if they would extend an offer to you guys, to the viewing audience, because I don't want to see you get ripped off. And bottom line is, you can pay the same price I pay for my customers. And if you look at any of my past videos, and I'm sorry for those of you who are regular viewers, you've seen this hundreds of times, but for new people, if you look at like my past video, like right here, if you scroll down and that first gray box there on the left where it says more, I'm going to move the mouse and click on more. And then it's going to open all those video notes with all the links to everything we're talking about in the video, which includes these Office and Windows license keys. Now, you don't have to use those links. They're not commission-based, but that's just for your convenience to get you right where you want to go. So click on it. It'll take you right to the product on the proper page, so you're not clicking on the wrong thing with all the scammers. Once you hit the Buy Now button, it's going to ask you to sign in. Sign in is, creating an account's free. You've got to have somewhere to send your receipt and your product key. You're not going to publish it publicly. That wouldn't make any sense. Once you add it to the cart again, you can put my name in if you want to. Just right here under the promotion code, type in Carey and then hit apply, and the price will drop 25%. You don't have to do that either. Again, I don't make a commission on it. If you want to save money, this is for you. Once you hit the submit order button, it takes you to ask how you want to pay. At that point, you pick whatever process you want to use to pay with, and just like anything else online, it asks all the same questions based on that payment method. And within about 2 minutes, day or night, weekend, holiday, doesn't matter, within about 2 minutes, you'll get an email confirmation of your purchase, and you'll also get a download link for the product. If you don't already have Windows or Office, they provide an official download link to the real product. And then they also provide your activation key, and then they also provide instructions. If you have any problem with that, they have 24/7 tech support, and they will remedy any misunderstanding or any issue or mistakes. They'll take care of you. I can tell you that confidently because I hear from the viewers with feedback, and you can ask whoever you want in the chat room if they've got any experience with it. And if for any reason that isn't the way I say it is, unlike any other content creator on the entire platform of YouTube.com, I personally back it up with my own money. If that means I refund your money or I provide you the product key, the good news is I've never had to do that for anybody. The minute I get involved, the problem is going to get solved. And I think I've gotten involved over the last 3 years, probably an average of twice a year. Something happens, somebody orders something by mistake. Product keys are very, very difficult to return because how can we tell if it's been used? Scamming is so terrible right now, it's probably going to get worse. Sellers don't know if the buyers are scamming them with stolen credit cards and what have you. The buyers don't know if the sellers are scamming them with fake or stolen products or counterfeit products. So I can't mess with that in my business. So basically I have to, I don't have a choice. I've got to find a good source, and it's got to be affordable so I'm competitive, and they've got to back me up so that when the customers buy from me, they're expecting me to back them up. I need backup too. That's why I need a warranty on what I sell so I can extend that warranty to my customers. I need guarantees. I need to be able to talk to somebody. I need support if my customer needs support. I'm the middle guy. I'm the guy the customer calls, and they don't have to deal with any of this other stuff. If I can't get that other stuff, I can't put my name on it. I cannot suggest it to the customer, or I will go out of business. I promise you. It won't take long. So again, there's not a commission-based link whether you buy it or you don't. If there's any problems, reach out to them. They'll make it right. If they don't make it right, you reach out to me personally. I guarantee I'll make it right. So you are guaranteed to not be burned. 100% peace of mind if it's coming from me. No differently than if you hired me as your technician. I guarantee my work. I'm always available to help. And that's part of what I've been doing since 1991. Well, in 91, I was working for somebody else, but it was still, you know, answering to the customer, providing great customer service, not necessarily tutoring for free. That's different, but a little bit. There's always a little bit of that, right? And some people did try to take advantage of, you know, basically asking them how to use a computer when it had nothing to do with anything being wrong with the computer, no support issues. And things have since sort of settled down now over the years. And a lot of the knowledge is pretty common these days. So most of the time people just need a little helping hand here and there, and we're more than happy to offer that. So there you go. I mean, just put that in your back pocket. Remember that if you ever need it, or you know somebody who does. So you don't have to roll the dice and hope for the best. Just be done with it. And let's see, who else is joining us in our chat room? Paul Vircher says hello. There's Stephen Detroit joining us. WD180K says hello. Michael Lavelle's joining us. A couple of friends in our community are battling some illness here, and of course we send our best wishes to them. And you know, one of the things I really believe in is the power of fighting back. And I know that many of you who've been here for many years, you are the kind of people that don't walk away from things. You know, you stayed with the channel, and I have full faith in the strength of each of you as individuals to fight the fights you need to fight, and we've got your back. So I'm just here to let you know your inner thoughts, and we have confidence in you and your will, and just keep up that fight. Of course, it also helps when you're getting the medical attention. We've lost Well, I've lost some friends that just don't want to go to a doctor, or they want to argue with the doctor, and they're not with us anymore. So I love to see that people are, following through with their doctors and following the doctor's advice, and here they are. Okay, so if you find yourself there, and let's face it, we all kind of find ourselves there at some point, see the doctor, do what the doctor says. If you don't like it, go get a second opinion, but don't go on Google and find a better solution. Whatever you do, don't do that. Not when something so serious is on the line. We're so glad and appreciative for each and every one of you to be here, and that we're spending our time on Earth together, because we're all here temporarily, and we're all sharing this time together. It means the world to me. Ron Barnish is now a member for 48 months. Right on. Thank you, Ron, for renewing your membership. Slavko says hello. Welcome in. There's Edward Bass joining us as well. Dazzle555 says hello. And trying to catch up here with our live chat. If you have questions about computers or technology throughout the show, just throw that in the chat room. We'll do our best to provide an answer or a direction to the answer. And the community itself often has better answers than I do, so don't just wait for me to respond. Pay attention to the chat room, because you might get responses faster and more accurately from our community. Supreme Nerd says hello from Chicago. And David S. says hello. John Lewis joins us. Dustin Fuller says hello. Buster says, this is why I love this channel. We are like family. Thank you, Carey and Mara, for making it possible. If you knew my family. This is more like family than my family. I'm just kidding. But you know what I'm saying. Like, sometimes I think I talk to you guys more, and you know more about me than some members of my own family. But that's, that's birds of a feather, I suppose. So absolutely, in some cases, all I'm trying to say is this may be more of a family than your actual family. At least it can be for me anyway. You know why I can say that? Because none of my family watches my show. You do. There's one example. All right. Let's see. Stephen Detroit said, I got scammed working for a company for a second income, but I didn't lose too much. Yeah, that's going on. If you go to LinkedIn and you read about all the fake hiring that they're doing, these fake companies that are supposedly hiring for fake jobs, and the whole thing's a scam. They might even ask you to show your driver's license, like on a Zoom meeting, and because they don't want you to be a bot or something, but at the same time, you're giving them a lot of private info. So there's advice like, cover up any driver's license information, your driver's license number, things of that nature. Certainly don't give out your social security card. It could be a scammer trying to steal your identity. And if you're hiring, it could be the person you're interviewing is actually a North Korean that's pretending to be an American wanting to work from home. That's a massive, massive problem right now. And it's on both sides of the scamming's on both sides of it, the hiring and of the wanting to be hired. Employee and employee could both be scammers. So just be careful out there. Do your research. Don't be afraid to use something like Gemini or Google to do a little research on the company and find out if there's anything recorded about them online. Some of these companies come and go so quick, there's no time for from the time that somebody writes about an experience to warn others when it gets indexed to show up on a search. It usually takes a couple weeks. So, you know, if it's been around and it's been recorded, something to watch out for. Just a quick thing to just search. You know, before all the scamming started, something that's a very common business practice is renting out these office suites, often in very expensive neighborhoods like Beverly Hills or even Wall Street. There's a company called Regus, Regus, and what they do is they basically have a shared office space that you don't work in. It's basically a receptionist sitting in a counter in a very fancy, expensive office building, upscale. They have a conference room, usually, that you can rent by the hour if you want to tell a client to meet you at the office. And one of the ways you can expose this, if you're kind of worried about a company doing this, is just type the company's address in to Google. So if the address is, you know, I don't remember the Regus on Wall Street, but if you were to type in that address, you'll find 200 plus, all different companies, lawyers, real estate agents, technology companies, all share the same address, and that's your clue that that's a virtual office space, and they're just using it to gain, to give you the impression or the illusion or the deception that they're this, you know, well-to-do company because they have such an exclusive address. So when you actually Google the address itself and you see that there's all these companies all pointing to the same address, that's what that is. Just something to watch for. It doesn't mean the companies are pulling any scams. A lot of lawyers' offices will do this, real estate agents will do this, but it's certainly deceptive. Okay, so, you know, if you wanted to go to their office just to show up unannounced, there's nobody from that company in that office. Those are the Regus offices. And if you say to the receptionist, I'm here for such and such a company, they can pull it up on their computer and see if that's one of the customers that rents their address, and then say, sorry, nobody's here right now, they're all out today. Like, they won't even come clean with it. But if you want to leave a message, I'll pass it on. The whole thing is very deceptive, and it's a big business. Regus is a very well-to-do company. That's how they can afford all of these exclusive, high upscale office spaces in some of the most exclusive addresses around the country. So it's not just in the USA. All right, so just a real quick search can help you right out of the gate before you get involved. Now, I'm going to go ahead and turn on the Kamrui H1. We'll let that boot up, and we'll pick up where we left off last week, which was basically just running benchmarks. You know, we've already opened it up. We've already looked inside. We've already reinstalled Windows, and we were able to get the drivers. Good luck doing that on a B-Link. Again, I want to just keep reminding you, as an example of why you're going to want support. If you're not going to get support, you might as well buy from a garage sale or Goodwill. You know, you buy it, it's yours, cash and carry, buy. I don't expect that when I'm shopping for a mini PC. And as a business that's going to resell that to the customer and support it, again, I need to have the backing of the manufacturer. So if there's any problems, it's not coming out of my pocket. It's bad enough the customer's inconvenienced. That's about the biggest hit I can take. Too small of a company that I can deal with that on scale. So if I had 12 B-Link computers and suddenly we need help with them, I'm not out of business, but I might be starting to lose weight from not affording any groceries for a while. So why would I do that? Why would I exhibit any loyalty to a company that betrays me? Because to me, that's a betrayal. And what I will say is, when it comes to Ace Magic and Kamrui, they are the same company. They did send this unit to us for free for review, so I'm fully transparent about that. And if we look at their website, which we can do right now, let me go over to Kamrui's website here. Here we go. What we're looking at today, the H1, interestingly, they don't have H1 written in the title. A Ryzen 7 7735HS is $499.99, and that's with 16 gigs of RAM and 512 gigs of NVMe storage. It's Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5.2, so we're not, bleeding edge, but it is DDR5. And the LP DDR5, pretty much that means that's soldered on. You can't change it out. LP stands for low power, in case you were wondering. And some people will say, well, you can't change out the RAM, so it's not very good. And I would say, I agree with you in 2003, or even 2015 maybe. But in 2026, RAM doesn't work the same way it used to. And soldered on RAM is not only cheaper, it's faster and more reliable. So these people that believe in adding in more RAM, for the most part, have been taught that from years ago. And they're not keeping up their education with the way Windows uses RAM. Okay, so pretty much, 16 gigs of RAM is plenty for most use case scenarios, and only somebody doing something pretty high-end would also require a high-end computer with a lot of RAM, and they probably already know that, wouldn't you think? They wouldn't need to hear that from me. But what I want to show you over here at Amazon is, here's the same computer, right? And it's $429 on Amazon. Right now it is anyway, if you're on Amazon Prime. If you're not on Prime, it's $459. And you're going to get it a lot faster, and there's a free 30-day refund or replacement. The refund is for any reason. Doesn't have to be anything wrong with it. You could just simply change your mood. Okay? There's no prerequisite to returning as an Amazon Prime member the product and getting a full refund, and you don't have to pay for the return shipping. So there's no risk on your part for you to try it out. And the links for the Kamrui website and for Amazon, they're in our video description that I showed you earlier with the Windows keys. And of course, it's pretty much all the same images as we saw on the other, on the main site. Just they kind of copy and paste is what they're doing, they being Kamrui. Reviews on this unit, if you look at the reviews, pay attention to which model is being reviewed. On Amazon, it gets a little tricky because if we go back up to the top, you'll see there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then there's 2 more. So there's 8 options. And if you buy any of those 8, you can leave a review. So don't just assume that the reviews are for the product you're buying. Hey, that looks like me, Carey Holzman. There we go. By the way, I do that voluntarily. I don't get paid to do that. If we scroll down here, you can look at the reviews and pay attention if there are multiple models on that Amazon page for anything you're buying. See if the review is for the product that you're buying. Like this is a 7430U. That's not what the product we're talking about is a 7735HS. So if we just remember that and scroll back down to the reviews, 7735. Here's a 7735. Yeah, that's it right there. Big caution, the Wi-Fi chipset is a Realtek. It's slow, prone to just get. We've not had this experience. However, this is a Linux user. Okay, so they're a little bit more technical of people, and I don't know if the driver issues are unique to Linux, but I can tell you, as far as Windows goes, I'm not aware of this problem. And Linux, I don't make any money with Linux, so I don't make any money with tying shoes, so I don't go around tying people's shoes for free either, right? That's not how it's not what I do for a living. So if you ask me, what's the best knot to make, I'm not the guy to ask. I don't know. That's not what I do. So I don't know if that's a driver issue with Linux that's well documented, or if that person doesn't know how to use Linux. I really don't know. But if we look, here's another review here. Initial difficult experience made right by top-notch customer service. Now that's clearly not B-Link. I'm going to keep beating up on them because I want to give you examples on how important it is when you make a purchase of a new product, that should anything happen, if a company ignores you or betrays you, you're on your own. You might as well have just bought from a garage sale. You might as well have just picked it out of the trash. So, you know, it's so disappointing when a company will take your money and then turn their back to you. And this is an example of where support came in. They had a problem. And unfortunately, they say their first experienced, the first customer service person didn't help. However, let's see what they say. It's inevitable that every once in a while something will go wrong with any product. Yeah, this is true. And how the company handles the situation. That's why when people ask me, you know, is that a good computer or a bad computer? It's really about the manufacturer. Because every manufacturer can make a bad product. It could be damage in shipping the manufacturer's not even at fault for. So it's not so much the quality of the product we're worried about, so much as if the company that manufactures it has your back. In the world that I live in and the work that I do, that is the #1 qualifying part. Not the processor, not the RAM, not the speed of the SSD, and not how many cores it has. Not if the Wi-Fi is compatible with Linux. None of that matters to me. What matters to me is, if I have a problem, how is the company going to respond? Are they going to respond? Is it going to take them forever to respond? Are they going to give me answers or excuses? Okay? And that alone is the prime purchasing decision that I have. Otherwise, I might as well just stick with computers I used 10 years ago. If I'm going to try new products and stay up to date, I need to see the new manufacturers as well as see if their support is there, that they're going to, you know, have my back if I have a problem. Because if they don't, I don't even want to try their products. All right, so if we go down here, there's another 7735. Again, I don't know who these people are. It is a verified purchase. It's not an Amazon Vine giveaway. So I feel pretty good that people that have purchased this with their own hard-earned money are happy with it. And that's about the amount of research I would do before I would recommend anything to a customer or buy for myself. My customers come to me for solutions. They don't come to me to be guinea pigs. So I figured if I have to test these units out anyway, why not make a video about it? I got to do the work regardless if I make the video. And if this passes my testing, it's an option to consider for clients where their budget or requirements for their computing needs fit into something like this. So it's not like I just do one. I do as many as possible, so I have as much variety to offer my customers, and I know which ones not to recommend. But I need to have hands-on experience with it. I need to make sure, you know, when I email the company, do I get a response? Do they have a website? Does the drivers, are they provided for this unit? Before I hit the buy button, I need to know all of that. Sometimes we get prototype units in, and the prototype units we get before the consumers. And for that reason, when we go to their websites, oftentimes the products are missing or the drivers aren't put there yet because the product hasn't been officially sold to the public yet. That's understandable. And in exchange for that, we get an early peek at something coming out. So that would be an exception. Let me jump over to this desktop over here. So we'll go to, let's see, it's Kamrui. There we go. And we grab my keyboard and mouse from over here. And you'll see that there are 3 different power settings in the BIOS. There's a quiet or silent mode, where the fans are really quiet, the power level drops, so the performance goes down a little bit. And that would be like if you wanted this in a multimedia room and you're watching TV or movies on it. You don't want to hear this computer. And it's small, you probably don't want to see it, right? It just kind of blends into the rest of your entertainment center. And this one here is the balanced mode. This is the, what is this? Application has not been provisioned. I don't even know what that means. Hold on a minute. This got interesting. Am I opening it with the wrong product? Let's see. Open, right click, open with photos. Is that the problem? It's not assigned? No. Could be a problem with my photos. Let's right click and open with Microsoft Paint. That ought to work. That does work. All right, we're going to fix the photos problem here in a second. I'll show you how to do that. But first, in the balanced mode, that's between performance mode, which is the fans are more aggressive, the power is going to be consuming more power, generating more heat, and it gives you a little higher score. Quiet or silent mode is the opposite of that, and balance is usually my preference personally for a nice balance between the quiet and performance mode. So you can see here on our Cinebench results, our CPU multi-score and our CPU single core, and you can see our maximum temps. If I go to the right, under the, oh, I think I got the wrong CPU listed here. Oh no, that's right. Yeah, so we maxed out at about 85.1 degrees Celsius. When you get into the 90s, especially the high 90s, that's worrisome, because you're really degrading the electronics in the computer because they're getting so hot, because they're getting so much power. If you try and just push the power through something constantly, like every time you get in your car, you put your foot to the gas pedal all the way to the floor, your gas mileage is going to go down the toilet. And you're going to wear the engine out, or wear all the components attached to the engine from just abusing them. And at 85.1, that's telling you everything's perfect. That's what's great about balance mode. Now, if I want to fix this Photos application not loading correctly, one of the modern ways that you can figure this out on your own, if we like double click on the disk mark, right, and it says user, okay, that's the location of the file. This application has not been provisioned. So I want to just show you a quick, level 1 tech support can really be done so much faster and so much better using an AI chatbot. We go to gemini.google.com, for example, which doesn't require any sign-ins or logins. And you can type this in, you can talk to it with your microphone. But what I would do, just because I want to be, you could say lazy, I'm going to say efficient, is I will just type in the snipping tool, S-N-I-P, and I'm going to take a picture of this. I'll say new, and I will cover this area right like this, okay? And then I'll close that and go back right here and hit Control V, and it pastes that picture of my screen, and I hit the up arrow to send it. Where did it go? Control V and send. Something went wrong. We're not off to a good start here, are we? Are you working? That's what I want to see. Yes, I'm here and ready to help. Well then, is it that my Control V is not working? It doesn't like that. All right, so when opening a JPEG, I see not provisioned in Windows 11. That's basically what it says. Open the task manager, run a new task, type PowerShell, and run it with administrative privileges. Well, we can just do that down here, PowerShell, and we'll run that as an administrator. Yeah, we're just following the steps. It says run this command. Well, that's a lot to type, but right here there's a convenient copy code. Click that once, or go back to PowerShell and press Control V and enter. It's interesting. I think it is reinstalling the Photos app. What is the error? Oh, it's still working. That's fine. So something it didn't like, but that may be normal. Looks like it's reinstalling all the default Windows applications. So if you accidentally delete one, if you're like uninstalling things, you went, whoops, I didn't mean to uninstall that. This is how you could put it back in theory if it's a standard Windows app that installs by default. It shouldn't be putting back anything else. Then I type in exit and it says restart your computer. So let's restart. And then when it comes back up to the desktop here in just a minute, we'll see if the Photos app opens. I mean, it could be that easy before you have to call somebody like me or pay somebody to fix it for you, or to wait until somebody has time to help you. That is how convenient the chatbots are for especially wanting to know how to use or repair anything. Anything from a dishwasher to a computer to Windows to Linux, anything in between that you can imagine. And it's not 100% accurate, but it's pretty damn good if you ask me, and I'm a tech. So now that we've restarted and you got a sense of, in this live unrehearsed video, of how fast this thing reboots, let's just double click on this and see if it opens now. It's all fixed, okay? So, boy, I'll tell you what, I'm going to get a lot dumber. I'm going to predict this right now. And the reason I say that is all the stuff that I'm accustomed to having to remember. And there's all these different things that happens in different versions of Windows and updates, and over the years, holding on to the most common requested support call answers is getting harder and harder the older I'm getting and the more background and more history we have. Well, now I don't even have to remember that. I didn't even really pay attention to what that code said. I don't know what it said. I paid attention to copy and paste. If you ask me what I did just now, I can tell you what I did, but if you ask me how I did it, I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention because I don't care. As such, it's encouraging me to become dumber and to rely on the computer to provide the answers. But when the computer is providing the right answers and it's doing it faster and more accurately than I am, even when I am remembering it and I just typoed something wrong, just the copy and paste function alone saves me time. It also makes me dumber. So be aware of that, because that's where we're headed as a society. And it doesn't replace experience or skill. AI isn't going to unplug your toilet. AI is not going to fix your car. It's not going to provide you with the tools that you might need or the spare parts that you might need, but it can help guide you through if you want to do the work. And so that's the way things are trending right now. AI is not a bad thing. It's a tool. And I can give you a really nice hammer drill. What are you going to do with it? And the very first time you use it, how good do you think you're going to be with it? If you're a construction worker, if you're somebody who builds things, you're going to build something of quality if you're good at what you do, regardless of what tools you've got to work with. At the same time, if you're not experienced in construction and you have the nicest tools available, you still don't have a clue what you're doing, and it's probably going to turn out all wrong. So let's not confuse and blame the tools for how people use them. Okay, I just wanted to make that point. Let's get back over here. And which one did I bring up? Did I bring up the same one? Oh, this is the performance mode. Full screen on that. So in performance mode, you can see our multi-core score here and our single core score here, and then how it rates to other machines. And our maximum temp, same as balanced mode. So if that's the case, you might as well leave it in performance mode. If it's not getting any hotter, then it's not really degrading anything. If you notice the fans are a little louder or more annoying, that's an individual preference. For me, I would just leave it in performance mode given those numbers. And then we can look at the quiet mode, or silent as it's called here, and a bit of a lower score. And by the way, these scores aren't drastically lower. And interestingly enough, our temp looks like it dropped about 3 degrees, not by much. But if you're, in a media room where you need complete silence or you want it as quiet as possible, then you definitely want silent mode, and your score is not so important to you. It's not as though you're going to sit down to watch a movie on Netflix and you put this in performance movie and you can now watch the movie faster. How does that make any sense? In exchange, you get to hear the distracting fan coming on throughout the movie playing. So depending on how you want to use the computer, this is your decision. This is not my decision. This is your decision, and that's why it's an option for each end user to decide for themselves. The same as if you want to order a fast food hamburger. You choose what you want on that burger. It's not, we're going to make it this way and this is how you're going to eat it. That was how it used to be in the 60s, maybe even the early 70s. And Burger King came along and said, you can have it your way. Hold the pickles, hold the lettuce, special orders, don't upset us. No way is the wrong way. All right, with our included drive, I did verify there's something wrong with the drive. And again, here's where support would come in. This drive is running about 3200 on the read performance, and it should be around 1200 to 1500 on the writes. So it's running at about half speed on the writes. And I was worried that either the drive was plugged in the wrong slot, something might have been wrong with the drive, or something wasn't configured correctly. And one of the reasons we had to put off this review, the second part, is the amount of time it was going to take me to reload an operating system or a clone. And as I thought about it, I realized I didn't really need to do all that. All I had to do was grab a Gen 4 drive. And the reason it was partly, confusing is if you look at either the Amazon page or on Kamrui's homepage, it's a little confusing the way their marketing company describes it. Let me see if I can find it for you. Let's go back over to, I guess we'll go to the Amazon page here. And let's see what they say about the enclosed, or the included rather, storage drive. Okay, this is why it's confusing. It says it supports PCIe Gen 3x4 or PCIe Gen 4x4, but there's 2 slots. So, I'm a very logical person, sort of like Mr. Spock, and I'm like, are they saying one of the slots is Gen 3 and the other one is Gen 4? Or are they saying they're both Gen 4, which are backwards compatible to Gen 3, but that's true of every Gen 4? That's like saying this USB port is both USB 3, USB 2, and USB 1. Well, which one is it? There's 3 USB ports. Are you saying one USB port is type, is USB 1? Are you saying one of the USB ports is USB 2? No, what they're saying is the USB 3 port is backwards compatible, which doesn't need to be said. It's very confusing. So what they did is they put a Gen 3 drive in a Gen 4 slot. And the reason I can tell you that confidently now is because I tested it. I took a Gen 4 drive. I didn't have to load an OS on it. All I had to do was pop the bottom off, put a drive in there, format it if it wasn't already formatted, and run Crystal Disk Mark on it. And the Gen 4 drive shows up over 7,000 megabytes per second on the reads, and the writes are exactly like where it's supposed to be. Then I swapped the drives in and took the OS drive, shut the whole thing off, disconnect the power, take the drive that was included and move it to the slot it wasn't in, and take the drive that I'm using for testing and take it out of that slot and move it to the slot the boot drive was in. And the system still boots automatically to either slot, whichever one has the OS, right? So once again, ran the test, exactly the same results. The drive that's included runs perfectly fine on the read speeds. Something's wrong on the write speeds. And the drive I have, a Samsung drive that's a Gen 4 drive, ran exactly the same in both slots, the way it's supposed to. So I know it's not the slots, it's not the configuration, it's not a computer, it's not a driver. The enclosed drive also ran the same in both slots, meaning that the write speeds are half speed for some reason, indicating something's wrong with the drive. So in that case, I would send it back to Amazon and ask for a replacement. No big deal. You've got 30 days to return for a refund. Now, because Kamrui sent me this for review, I'm just talking to their marketing company about it. I don't really care if they change this one out. This doesn't matter to me. But it's an example of some things right out of the gate when you get a new computer. Just check the specifications that it runs as expected. That's all. Because you take advantage of the 30 days you've got. If you find this out after the 30 days, you've got to rely on the warranty. And that's going to be a slower process. It could take a week from the time you send something in for warranty and another week from the time a unit is returned to you. You might be without a computer for 2 weeks at the least amount of time. That's normal. And if it's B-Link, you probably won't even get anything at all. From my experience, they won't even answer you. So you had that 30 days if you bought it from Amazon with B-Link, for example, and Amazon will take it back. Amazon will even exchange it if you want to do that. But once you're past that 30 days, you're going to be relying on the company. If the company's not reliable, I strongly suggest you avoid them. So with regards to Kamrui, we did not reach out to customer support because we didn't buy it. We reached out to the marketing people that contacted us, and we asked them for answers. Because they're marketing people, they have to take our request to the support people. It's kind of messy, but anyway, not the end of the world. And I wanted to get back to you from part 1 about that weird behavior and identify if it was in fact the NVMe drive. Now, we've seen this with NVMe drives before. Also from Ace Magic, the same company, basically. I don't know where they're sourcing their drives from, if we're just really unlucky. But in the past, they've always replaced it with pretty much the exact same model. It's just one works full speed and one works half speed. And I'm just told it was a bad batch or whatever. So something, if you're buying these computers, I would check out, make sure you've got the amount of RAM you're supposed to have. Run memtest on it. Make sure the RAM passes memtest. Run a performance benchmark on the drive itself. Verify the CPU you got is actually the CPU you paid for, because sometimes when they fulfill orders, the person picking the parts, something could be labeled wrong, have a sticker on it that's not supposed to be there, and you get something you didn't order. And that's not the manufacturer's fault. Usually that's the warehouse fault. But regardless, Amazon covers you for those 30 days, so just keep that in mind. Now, Kamrui, if you order directly from them, they might have a similar policy. However, you might have to pay for the shipping. It's possible there could be a restocking fee, and the whole process takes longer. Amazon's known, at least if you're an Amazon Prime member, for expediency in both deliveries and returns. They make Prime worth it just for the customer service, regardless of the product, which I'm going to keep coming back to, how important the company is that's selling it to you, not just the product itself. Unless your plan is, I'm going to buy this and I'll deal with it no matter what. That's like shopping at a garage sale. So just know the difference, the prices that follow, and the expectations after you've made the purchase to be grounded and reasonable. That you're not being delusional in what you're buying and what's coming or not coming with that purchase, okay? That's on you as the purchaser. It's your money. It's not my money. And how you spend it is 100% on you. Let me go back over to the chat because I haven't been paying attention to what you guys are talking about. So let me come back over here and let you know I'm not ignoring you. Shamim Kashviris joins us from Sweden. And Shamim renews membership, now a member 38 months. Hello, Carey. Thank you again for the great content. I hope everyone enjoys their weekend. Regards from Gothenburg, Sweden. Right on. Thank you, Shamim. Thank you for renewing membership and joining us all the way from Sweden. Westside Lord says hello. Mark Leibowitz, a computer technician in a very similar career as what I have, joins us from Chicago and says hello. Al Perez joins us and says hello. Welcome in, everyone. Good to see you. Victor Torres says hello. One thing we're finding out, one thing that's becoming very clear is, and I've been talking about this for years, and I don't know if people don't listen or they're not understanding me. The way that programmers develop code is the way their bosses tell them to, not necessarily the way they want to. And if you're buying these, large AAA title games, they are sloppy. I mean, the code is bloatware. The games you're buying are bloatware. So many times on the internet, we hear gamers on social media complaining about removing the bloatware from Windows, but Windows doesn't really have any bloatware. It doesn't, not anymore. Those are from the days of past. So some of the worst advice handed out from people who don't have any depth of understanding, they just have a surface level understanding. Or they had a depth of understanding years ago, but it doesn't apply today. So basically the gist of it is the game the company that's making the game tells their developers, get it done. Get it done fast. All right, well, this function isn't working, that function isn't working. Get it working. So I want you to think about, you're doing a repair. Maybe you're an electrician. Maybe you're in a network wiring closet trying to fix why the company's internet's not working. And the company says to you, get that internet working now. And you go in there and you start pulling cables and you're grabbing cables and you're plugging and you're making a mess. Okay? And then finally you get it figured out. And now you want to put everything back the way it was? No. No, no, no. We need you over here now. Just leave the mess. Everything's working. Get out. Go do this other thing. This other thing's on fire. Okay, you're the fireman. You go out there, you put out the fire. When you're done, there's a big mess. Somebody's got to clean that up. Or not. So when a programmer has to solve a problem, oftentimes, they're on salary or they're getting paid by the hour. And the company's like, listen, if we don't get this product out ASAP, nobody's going to have a job. We're paying and paying and paying. It's sort of like making a movie. We have to finance this movie. We have to pay the actors. We have to close down streets. We have to pay for permits. We've got to pay the union workers that operate the cameras and the gear, the lighting. We need to pay all this money. And then we have to pay the editors and post-production, special effects. Once we make our principal photography done, then that goes into editing and special effects, and then we pay the orchestras or source of music to create custom music for our movie, and then that all has to get sound blended in correctly to another editor, and then it goes through maybe trial audiences in some cases, test audiences, and then there's millions and millions of dollars in marketing the movie and commercials and billboards and advertising across social media. Before you've even released the movie, somebody's put up all this time and all these people have worked for typically about 2 years before the product is done. And if the product doesn't sell well, the investors who financed all that lose their income. And if you go back to those investors and say, let's try again, chances are they're going to say, not with you. Okay. So programming these video games works a very similar process. GTA 6, for example, has been under development a very long time, and it's costing hundreds of millions of dollars. Hundreds of millions of dollars. So get it done. What that means is the programmers are under the crunch to get this thing working. You end up with bloat, just like that server room trying to solve a problem and you're left a mess. That code is a mess. Universally, across the board, this applies to all AAA titles. So they say, well, here's the minimum specifications to deal with it's so bloated and messy, we're going to sell it to you, and you're going to have to deal with that by providing more resources to the product, not us. You spend the money. We're not spending any more.
To optimize that code, they could probably reduce that game size by at least 30 to 60%, minimum 30%, less resource intensive. Meaning the requirements needed to run that game, from how much RAM you need or how much storage or how much GPU power, is in the slop of the code. So because RAM and storage and video cards for a while were so affordable, the attitude was just leave the mess, let the customer pay for the cleanup. And by dealing with it, in other words, I'm going to sell you a car and I'm going to load it with cement. So your gas mileage is down the toilet, your acceleration sucks. You know how you fix that? You empty the car out of the stuff. You deal with it. I'm just selling you the car. With the RAM shortage and the SSD shortage and the GPU shortage, it's getting harder to just put that onto a customer now and say, you need to have these minimum specs to run our slop. Customers aren't going to do it. Customers can't. They can't afford it. So now the companies are forced, if they want to sell the product, they've got to slim it down. They've got to cut the fat. If you came to me and you bought a 16-ounce steak, and I'm the butcher, and I cut this piece of meat, and I put it on the scale, and it weighs 16 ounces, 1 pound. And then I wrap it up, and the scale gives you the price. You get that steak home, and 60% of that steak is fat. So that when you take your knife and do what the butcher was supposed to do, and you trim away the fat, you have a 4-ounce piece of filet, for example. Now you know why the price was so good on that steak, right? Why are you going to cook that much fat on that steak? I mean, a little bit of fat would probably be good. That's okay, but that's excessive to the point of offensive to me. And that's what software developers have been doing, is just slopping the code. It's grossly inefficient. It's not optimized, and they're not incentivized. The company isn't going to pay them for that. And that may not be what the programmer wants. The programmer may hate that because it makes it very hard to work on it. It's like going back into that server room and all the cables are all strewn about. Good luck figuring out what anything is. So most developers, at least the ones that I've met, hate that. They absolutely hate that, but they're not given a choice. Or they could quit, or be fired. Do what we tell you to do. Collect your paycheck, say thank you, or, just smile and keep showing up to work and doing the job. So that's all put on the consumer. With the RAM shortage and the SSD shortage and the GPU shortage, they're not selling. People don't have the money to just go and buy more resources. So if the company wants to sell a product, they've got to reduce they've got to cut the fat off the product. One way that you can see this happening now is with Windows. Microsoft used to say 32 gigs of RAM is optimal for gaming. That's been removed off the site now. And a lot of the Windows updates that are being released from Microsoft are so Windows will run much, much faster on 8 gigs of RAM. Why didn't they do that before? Why would they? They didn't have to. But if they keep adding more and more to Windows resources that it slows down, then people may switch to Linux or Mac or go to the competitors. So Microsoft says, all right, developers, because remember, it's not the developer's idea what you're going to do today. You'll do what your boss tells you to do. What I want you to do is I want you to work on optimizing the way the files copy. I want to optimize the responsiveness of the system. We want to cut the fat. For the first time since Windows 10, for the very first time, Microsoft is now focused on paying their engineers to optimize the code that they've been slapping together over the last 10 or 15 years. It's time now. Let's start getting out the scissors and let's start optimizing. So people, the average people that use our systems with 8 gigs of RAM, can do so and not feel like it's sluggish at all. The idea that more RAM is better is because of sloppy code. The only reason most people, need more RAM is to compensate for bad code on the software they're choosing to run. Now, there are some exceptions, but that's what they are. They're exceptions. Those people using really high-end resource-intensive programs like DaVinci Resolve, that is a very intense program. It's very resource-intensive. And adding more RAM to something like that will obviously boost its performance if you're using it, those resources, not just some. If you're using a lot of the resources in DaVinci Resolve, then it needs a lot of resources on your computer. But if you're just opening Windows and you're going on browsers and you're reading all these articles online about RAM and storage and how much better it is to have more, you're being sold a fairy tale that does not in any way relate to reality. And you're choosing, for some reason, to believe it without questioning or testing it. Because if you actually test it, you'll see having more RAM than you're using is a waste of money. And you'll understand better that having RAM soldered on is not only faster, it's cheaper, and it almost never goes bad. It's pretty rare. So you're going to get better performance with better reliability at higher speeds for less money. How can you turn your nose up at that and say that's bad unless it's 2005? Then I'm with you. This isn't 2005 anymore. And that's why the technology has changed. It's not there to sell you less. It's there to give you more. It's evolving. It's getting better, but people aren't. The users are stuck in the past, the ones that go on social media or they come here in the chat room and they want to, talk about how important all this stuff from 2005 is. And I'm saying to you watching this, I want you to be aware of what you're listening to. You're either listening to somebody that uses their computer in a very unusual way, or let's say an uncommon way, which probably doesn't affect you and how you use your computer, or you're listening to somebody who learned something 20 years ago and they refuse to update their knowledge. That's their choice. It's your choice if you want to believe them. And it's my choice to not screw my customers. I've never sold an overclocked system. I don't sell systems to my business clients with RGB. I don't waste my customers' money. I don't disrespect or dismiss my customers' needs. I want my customers to see value in me and keep coming back. I don't want to have to keep getting new customers. That's hard work. I want to keep the ones I've got indefinitely. I want them to refer me so I don't have to pay for commercials or marketing. I want them to come back to me because they want to, not because they're under a contract like a gym membership and they don't have a choice. And that's the motivation behind my work, behind this channel, and behind the things I tell you what to watch out for. I'm not to put anybody down. They don't know any better, okay? They truly believe what they're saying because they don't know any better. I'm telling my audience so you don't have that excuse. You now know better. And then with that, you choose whatever you want to choose to believe. Things change. This industry has changed. The technology has changed. The operating system is in a... these Windows updates are so important right now because they're working on optimizing the Windows code. Long overdue. And that's going to result in a faster, more responsive computer. Meaning that the old computer that's feeling slow right now, if you get those Windows updates, it'll start to feel faster. And all you have to do is accept the updates. But if you listen to these people who are often well-intentioned telling you don't get those Windows updates, they're causing you harm. Well, you're causing it yourself if you're choosing to believe them. And I've got the receipts. I can prove it. And you can prove it yourself. Which that's the best truth, is to have an experience. If you're skeptical or you want to verify, I encourage you to do so. Scott Messerschmidt joins us and says hello. There's Picard 2005 saying hello. Remington said I bought a B-Link computer several years ago based on my recommendation at the time, and it's still going strong. Yeah, I mean, I think the B-Link computers, generally speaking, are made well. And B-Link used to have a website that worked and drivers that were updated that worked. And, you know, a couple years ago, B-Link was operating in a different way. After a couple of years, your warranty's over anyway. You're on your own regardless. But these days, what's really changed isn't so much the product as it is the support. And it doesn't mean the product's bad. Let's not confuse the company that makes the product and the product. They're two different things. And when I'm buying for my clients, to be very clear, I need both to be good, not one or the other. They both have to be good. Once we're out of warranty, doesn't matter anymore. But if we were supposed to have a warranty and we were supposed to have support and we needed it, it wasn't there, that's my quick ticket to losing my customers and, you know, changing careers. Maybe I'll be a truck driver. That's how consequential it is for me because of how many customers and how many computers I sell. That's my full-time job. If I can't maintain that full-time job anymore because people are not happy with the service I provide, because I can't get it from the computer manufacturer that I recommended, that's my responsibility, and I deserve my consequences. Mark Gaines joins us from Northern Ireland saying hello. Bajin Guy said, I stopped overclocking my CPU over 20 years ago. You don't see many videos on overclocking anymore, do you? That was kind of a fad, an enthusiast fad only. It didn't happen in the business world ever. Well, I would say very rarely, quite uncommon. But on YouTube, it was every other video about computers. Not so much these days. Some of these changes I'm quite happy about, quite frankly. Things continue to get better overall. Even if you say, well, the price of RAM's going up and that's worse, the fact that we don't need as much of it and we don't need to upgrade it like we used to is getting better. So it depends if you want to see the glass half full or the glass half empty. That choice is on you. That's called perspective, and you voluntarily make that choice, and it requires as much effort to think negatively as it does to think positively. One is not harder than the other for you to do, but it is your choice to make that choice and to see it however you want to. And that's true for every one of us. And I choose to see as much as I can both sides of it. Try to say, okay, well, this is a problem, but that problem also results in something that's good. I was having this discussion the other day with a friend, and they said, do you think using a computer, do you think that was better before Windows, when you had to learn how to speak computer to use a computer? Or do you think it got better after Windows? And my answer was, what was great about Windows is you didn't have any barrier to entry. You just saw the little pretty picture and you clicked on it. That meant that people who didn't understand computers and didn't have any plans to understand computers, it opened the world to make computers accessible to them. The downside is that Windows made computers accessible to them. So, it's the exact same thing. And you can say, well, here's the good of it and here's the bad of it. It's not universally true one way or the other. It's a little of both. And I see most everything that way, or I try. I make an effort, a voluntary effort to say, what can I find wrong with this? What can I find good about this? Whatever it is I'm reviewing. And when I'm done with the review, did I have more things listed that were bad, or did I have more things listed that were good? If one side or the other, there's nothing good or there's nothing bad, that's not a proper review. That's lazy. That's bias. Like when I tell you about B-Link, the machine's fine. It's the company, the support, the drivers, the warranty. That's all crap. I want them to be equal or very, very close. If I talk about this, I say, here's what I like about it. I don't mind that the RAM's soldered in. I prefer it. My Galaxy Book 3 from Samsung, the laptop I use every day, 32 gigs soldered on RAM. I've never, ever thought, geez, I wish I could put more RAM in this, because I don't like flushing money down the toilet for something that makes no difference. Not the way I use it. Hit Control-Alt-Delete, go to your task manager, and look at how much RAM you're using. Most of you watching this video right now use less than 16 gigs of RAM. What are you going to do with all extra RAM? I don't know. Feels good to have it. Well, it's your money. The result, my Samsung Galaxy Book 3 is one of the thinnest laptops I've ever had, partially because it has soldered on RAM. It's also low power RAM that gives me better battery life. If you tell me my battery life has nothing to do with performance, what good is a computer's performance if it won't turn on because your battery's dead? Well, you're on a plane and you're traveling and you're stuck, so you can plug it back in. I'd say your performance extremely dropped to 0. Don't tell me the battery has nothing to do with performance. That's like having a muscle car with 800 horsepower, but you've got those little spare tires on it. Good luck telling me about your performance. That's like putting in high performance fuel on a high performance engine, but your transmission won't shift. I'm going to say your performance sucks. Everything has to work in concert together of at least a minimal nature of keeping that level of performance. It doesn't have to be the pinnacle of everything. If you can afford that and you're that intolerant and you're that demanding, I envy that you have that kind of money. But as long as things are more or less in line with everything else in equality, that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm trying to spend my money on or invest my money in, are things that don't require me to have to make up for the shortcomings with my own time and my own money, and especially not to a customer that's got to sit there and witness it and then judge me on it. That costs more than any amount of money, period. And I wouldn't recommend something to any of you that I wouldn't recommend to a customer. But at the end of the day, all I can do is give you the information, and what you choose to do with it is on you, and I don't really care. If you want to buy something, I recommend you don't. Go for it. It doesn't hurt my feelings at all. And if there's an I told you so moment, we'll still try and help you. You reach out and say, yeah, I know you said not to buy it, but I bought it anyway, and now I'm stuck in this position. I'm not going to say, well, you should have listened. I'm still going to try and help you. Okay? If you want to reach out to us, if there's anything we can help you with, our email address is right here on the screen. We love hearing from you guys, and we want to hear from you. We don't want to hear from your friends. We don't want to hear your wives' tales and your gossip. We don't want you to send articles you didn't write. We don't want you to send videos you didn't make. Be clear on that. On the other hand, if it's a problem you're having yourself, if it's an article you wrote yourself, if it's a video you made yourself, and you want to share that with us, we love, 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 love that more than you can possibly imagine. But if it's somebody else's work or it's somebody else's problem and you're getting involved in it, we're not interested. Okay? One extreme to the other. Yes, please, thank you, and no, not interested, delete. Okay. ShowcaseCreate@gmail.com. Reach out anytime. We're always happy to hear from you if you want to share a story or you need some help with a problem. Our friend Larry there, LRCX in the chat, reached out to me yesterday. He was waiting on a Windows update on 2 of his computers, and they were stuck at like 99%. He said it was like that for 3 hours. What should he do? And I said, well, Larry, you could let it run overnight. Sometimes these Windows updates, for whatever reason, they get stuck. And if you just leave them alone, they'll usually finish. Ironically, this latest update that came out is supposed to fix this particular issue, but you still have to get the update installed. I said, if you don't want to wait, you can always just unplug the machine. Just unplug it, let it sit for about 20 seconds, plug it back in, go back to Windows Update and see if it continues. And he decided to try that. And he said, no, it's still doing the same thing. I said, well, you could stop the Windows Update service and restart it again. Or you can stop the Windows Update service and delete the contents of the software distribution folder that has all the cached files from Windows Update in case any of them are corrupted or whatever. And after you delete them, then turn the Windows Update service back on and then check again. But, you know, if you just leave it alone, it'll probably finish. It's not uncommon for these updates to suddenly get stuck and to just sit there. They appear to be locked up and they're not. They're just sort of stuck in an idle for some reason. But they usually snap themselves out of it after a period of time. I can't explain it. And I hope that this Windows Update, and the one we're talking about is the preview update that will officially be released on the second Tuesday of September, of this month of August. Second Tuesday. When is that this month? Second Tuesday will be the 11th. So this coming Tuesday, that update will be officially released. And yeah, if it seems like it's stuck, just my best advice is just leave it alone. You can continue to use the computer. If you don't check for updates manually, this could be happening in the background and you're unaware of it. You could have updates stuck at 99% all night or all day, and you're totally oblivious to it because it's happening automatically. So sometimes with the human mind, when we do something and we see it, we have a problem. But if we don't do something, or the computer's doing something that we're not aware of and we don't see it, then we don't know anything's wrong. So in this case, you know, Larry it's a good idea. I'm not saying it's a bad idea to go and get your updates. You should. But if they do seem to be taking a long time, you know, when you unplug the computer like I advised, you do risk file corruption. And it's not that common, but best practice would be leave it alone. Minimize the Windows Update window so you stop looking at it. That's half the problem. And just use your computer just like you normally do and ignore it. Eventually it'll pop up and say it's time to restart. And if you've walked away, if you just leave the computer on and walk away, it'll restart on its own after it realizes you're not using it. It'll just reboot. When you come back, you'll see you're back at the desktop. And whatever you were working on probably closed. But how you choose to deal with it is up to you. But patience is usually, or lack of patience is usually the problem. And Larry didn't do anything wrong. I'm not making light of it. I found myself in the same position. You've seen me do it live on camera, waiting on an update, and I'll just pull the power like this is taking way too long. And then what I'll do, oftentimes after I end the broadcast, I'll plug the computer back in to do the update again, and it updates really fast. That's just Murphy's Law. And I do hope that this update on Tuesday, I do hope that fixes the problem. So this is more of that bloat we've been talking about that's in the code of the software. It's not something you uninstall or change. This is from the developer side. Nothing you or I can do anything about. So that's why it's so important to get those updates. There's another example. Things just keep getting better and better and better. The way I choose to see it, much better today than it was 10 years ago. Buster's saying good night to everyone. He's going to catch up tomorrow. Have a good evening, Buster. That's Peter like hi. It's about, what is it, about 10:30 at night, I think, there in Scotland right now. 2:30 in the afternoon here in Phoenix, Arizona. Rest well, my friend. We'll look forward to seeing you again on Sunday, I hope. We'll be back on Sunday with part 2. Similar to how we did part 2 to follow up on this, on the minis forum, NAB 9S, which I think is a screaming deal. It's a hell of a machine. I would say this is sort of a baseline, sort of, not baseline, mid-range computer. And the minis forum was sort of a entry-level high-end computer. And they're not too far apart in price. And the minis forum's super easy to get into. Now that could be a bad thing if you've got small children that are curious, or it's a good thing if you don't have a lot of little screwdrivers and things, and have to remove rubber feet and deal with all that nonsense. So join us on Sunday when we do part 2, the follow-up with the NAB 9S. But that does take me to what's my conclusion on the Kamrui H1. So the H1 here is, I think it's a good solid value for the money. If I had ordered this and that drive was working the way that it's working, I wouldn't deal with Kamrui, me personally. I'm an Amazon Prime customer. And Amazon Prime is like the best customer service in my experience. So I would just go to my Amazon.com account, my order history. I'd say I want to return or exchange this. I would pick an exchange because I want one without the bad drive. And they'd say, well, why are you returning it? Or why are you exchanging it? And you could leave the field blank. You could just write anything in there. You can punch the keyboard. It's not a prerequisite. But I'll tell them. The drive writes on the NVMe are running at half speed. It's not working the way it's supposed to. Do you want a refund or an exchange? I would like an exchange. Great. Do you want an advanced exchange? We'll send it out to you today. And if you don't send us this one back in 30 days, we're going to bill you for the other one. You're going to get billed twice. Are you okay with that? Okay. And within 2 days, I'll have my replacement. And I can take the shipping box that Amazon puts it in, put mine in that same box, rip the label off, the address label. And sometimes you don't even have to do that. It'll just say take it to a local Kohl's, department store, Whole Foods, UPS. Depends on the return. Sometimes you have to print out a label, but it's prepaid. And in that case, of course, you need a box to put it in. But anyway, I'd put this all back in its original box, just the way it came, include all the screws, all the wires, everything, because I'm not a thief. And then send that back to Amazon, and Amazon says, okay, we confirmed, we got it, everything's cool. Now, when I get the replacement unit, I'm going to run the same test. Now, if the replacement unit has the same problem, I probably don't want an exchange anymore. That tells me we've got a bad batch. And if that's the case, I'll just ask for a refund and I'll buy something else. But I'll give them 2 chances is all. That's me. You might be less tolerant. You might be more tolerant. You might go 3 times. But do that within your first 30 days and it's quick and painless. If I wait till after 30 days, or if I try to fix it myself and void the warranty, well, I can't tell you what'll happen. I might just swap the drive out myself, say, I don't want to go through the hassle. I'll just put another 512 gig drive in there I've got and solve the problem. I can choose to do that. I don't know why you would on something brand new. If you bought it at a garage sale, that makes sense. So anyway, that's the process I follow. That's why I follow it. It's quick and it's painless and it's easy. It's very, very easy. So the minute you have to deal with a company and you've got to mail things back, you're going to pay for the shipping after 30 days, and then it's probably going to ship slow. You're probably not shipping it overnight because then you're paying for it, and that ain't cheap. And that doesn't mean you're going to get it back any sooner because you don't know how long the company is going to take to evaluate and, send you a replacement or repair the unit you sent in. It's at their discretion. So you could be down, as I mentioned, 2-3 weeks. That's why those first 30 days, if you're ordering from Amazon as a Prime customer, that's part of what you're paying for. It's part of your annual fee. Like a Costco membership, you get benefits. And it pays for itself for me about every 3 or 4 weeks. The amount of money I'm saving on shipping costs and on returns easily pays for my year's membership to Prime. And that doesn't include all the other benefits of Prime, like all the TV shows and stuff I can watch at no additional cost. So that's how I choose to see it. VX716 said, I had 16 gigs of RAM. I upgraded it to 64 just before COVID became a thing. I'm still on DDR4. Idling on the desktop after closing programs, I'm only using 11 gigs out of that 64. But I've heard PC caches lots when abundant. I mean, I've heard I'm 10 feet tall and I've heard I weigh 4,000 pounds. I mean, you can hear all kinds of nonsense. How do you know what's true? How do you know what you're hearing is actual fact? Who are you hearing it from? An official source? Or are you just reading it on social media or YouTube videos from content creators who don't have a clue what they're talking about? Because there's more of them than there are of actual factual resources of accurate information, where you really have to hunt those down and verify. But if you choose to believe it, it's your choice. If you have RAM you're not using it. I don't know how to explain it to you. If you're not using it, then there's really nothing to be cached. There may be some very poorly non-optimized bloatful games that can cache a bunch of that bloat into your extra memory, resulting in you saying the game runs faster. Well, sure. Yeah. Some people will say use a RAM disk. Well, yes, again, if this was 10, 20 years ago, you'd be right, but it doesn't make any sense anymore. Windows is doing that automatically. So people, instead of investigating why something is true, explain to me how this works, they just accept it. They just choose to believe it. They want to believe it. So if you have anything you can demonstrate, like make a video, for example, if you were to take half your RAM out and use your computer and have a stopwatch, don't use benchmarks. That's all nonsense. Use a stopwatch. Load whatever you want to load on your computer, as much as you want to load it, on video with a timer. Then do the same thing with the other half of your memory put in. Show me the difference. I want to see it. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It depends how you use the computer. But the people that use the computer in a way that makes a difference are usually gamers playing very bloated games, that we already talked about, or you're a very high-end specialized user with a very high-end specialized software. That's it. As far as I can think of, that's the only two occasions. For the 98% of the rest of us, or 95%, whatever it is, 90%, doesn't affect us. So, just so you know, verify even what I'm telling you. Verify it. Have it explain to you why I'm wrong or why I'm right. Don't just accept it. Or do. I mean, it's your choice either way, but if I were you, I would just, before I go repeating something I've heard, I'd want to make sure it's truthful. I've been that way as long as I can remember, because I'm tired of being lied to. And the people lying to me often don't know they're lying. They believe their own lies because somebody lied to them who believed their own lies. And if nobody's fact-checking anybody, some people say it's really rude. They go, Carey, you're going to fact-check me? Yes. That's disrespectful and offensive. I don't care. Because if you're right, you're right. And if you're wrong, you're wrong. But how would I know if I don't fact-check it? And I'm not just fact-checking you. I fact-check everybody the same. Everyone. If it's something I'm interested in, and I might repeat it, before I repeat it, I better make sure I don't make myself look like an idiot. Done enough of that. I still do, but differently. I want to fact check it. Is this right? Even myself, am I remembering this right? Let me jump on Google. No, I got it wrong. Okay, try and remember that for next time. Andy says, that seems like a nice mini PC, but the Cinebench R23 numbers are really low. They should be around 12,000. Maybe they have the TDP really throttled down. Well, I don't know, Andy. Let's take another look here. I don't pay too much attention to those numbers because they don't really relate to reality very well. Synthetic meat and real meat don't taste the same, you know what I'm saying? But let's go back over here to these benchmarks and see what numbers we should be seeing. Let's open source projector here. And let's take, that's balance, that's performance, right? And Again, this is just making me dumber, but it's so easy. Let's go back to Gemini. And let's grab, let's do this. Hit the plus sign. Oh, I have to sign in. Oh, that's probably, it wasn't working. Okay, so we'll just ask it, what should AMD, what should AMD Ryzen 7 7735? Which one is this again? See, I've already forgotten. HS? Seven 735 HS. 16 gigs LP DDR5 RAM score on Cinebench R23. All right, I'll just ask the AI what it should be. Let's see what it says. Remember, I do this live and unscripted. I don't know what the outcome's going to be. It says you can see anywhere from 11,000 to 14,000, with the average being between 12,700 and 13,300. And then again on the single. Now, let's minimize and go to the desktop. It's on the wrong mouse. Let's go to the desktop and let's go to performance mode. And we're seeing Cinebench numbers. Ooh, that's really low. 9,997. Let me just check something. If it's performance 997. Silent was what? 7523. And balanced was 9835. So that's all right. And we're falling pretty well short of that 11,000, like just at the baseline at 11,000. And let's do this. So it says 997. So we'll go back over to, whoops, not that. Trigger finger. Say my score is 9997 with the BIOS in performance mode. And I'm not going to fix the typos. How can I improve it? Bad day of typing for me. How can I improve it? I'll just see what it says. Score around 9997 on a Ryzen 7 typically happens with specific thin and light or business-oriented laptops. Even when performance is toggled on, the manufacturer may cap the processor's sustained power limit to 30 or 35 watts to manage heat and fan noise. So if your CPU is locked in around 3.2 gigahertz, it's drawing roughly 30 watts of power. And that would explain the score gap compared to heavy gaming laptops that push 54 watts. So if you bring up HWinfo64, check the CPU power package. Now, I don't know if I captured the CPU power. CPU package power 35 watts. So that's exactly what's happening. It's just what Andy said. It lines right up. Now, there's a reason for this, right? They don't want support calls and warranties on systems that burn up, but that doesn't mean we couldn't maybe modify it. Let's try and get into BIOS and see if there's manual settings for that. And you can bump it up 5 or 10 watts at a time, but I don't know that a human being is going to see much of a difference between a score of nearly 10,000 and 11,000. It's pretty much microseconds. But some people are really into microseconds. Computer people, not regular people. When I say regular people, I mean just like normal everyday folks. versus enthusiasts really into computers that really start looking at granular things that at the end of the day don't really typically make much difference that a human being can sense. But for the sake of argument and to play along, let's just see if it's our CPU. That be OEM features. There's no custom mode here. It doesn't detail what it's changing. Like what are these? What are they changing the power limit settings to? Right? It says on the top right power limit setting, but it doesn't define what that is. Sometimes there's an override. I don't see it here. Performance. Yikes. Decline or accept. Accept. Yikes. I don't know what any of that does. Prefetcher, watchdog. It may not be changeable on this BIOS. And they do that on purpose so that people don't cook the machine and then turn around and say it's the manufacturer's fault. So depending on the cooler the manufacturer is using, in order to get it into a case that small, it may not be capable, at least according to their testing, that it would be reliable at a faster speed. Otherwise, they would have done that, theoretically. But as far as system configuration, here we go. Let's take it to 54 watts. It's awfully extreme, though. Let's do it anyway. We found that under SMU common options under advanced. Try to remember that because I'm probably going to have to change that. I'm going to probably regret this, but let's just see what happens. Now, if this was my money on my computer, I wouldn't mess with this because I don't have enough money to replace it and buy another one because I screwed it up. You know, if you want to cook your computer because you're chasing benchmark numbers, that's your choice. I choose not to. But I mean, they did send us the computer, no cost, so we can play with it, and it would still be a loss if I broke it, and it would still be my fault. And that's why those settings are often discouraged. You're best off saying, look, if you're not seeing the numbers you want to see, buy something else. We might not even reboot at this point, like it's just sitting there doing nothing. That's not good. There's no signal means the system is not able to even post anymore. So that test might have ended real early. Now we could just bump it up more incrementally than that extreme, but it should have been within, you know, at least what Gemini suggested. So yeah, the score is a little low, and Andy is correct, but I don't believe it really makes that much of a difference, except to people who care that much. And if you care that much, why are you buying a computer so cheap? What would you expect? I want everything at half price. Well, I mean, if you can do that, or even if you see average benchmark numbers, okay, that's fine too. But at the end of the day, does it really make any difference that you can notice? And that's the point I'm trying to make. Other than being swept up by the numbers, does it actually make any practical difference in real life use? I guess it depends on how you use it. So, you know, one person's trash is another person's treasure. I'm gonna grab my reset tool here. I haven't had to do this in a long, long time, but we're gonna have to reset this BIOS. Is there a BIOS reset hole? Because I don't see one. I'm gonna cut power to it. Sometimes the little pinholes are like next to another port. You can't see it because a plug's plugged into it, but I'm not seeing one at all on here. I didn't even notice that. It doesn't seem to have a BIOS reset because I never use it. Now that I want to use it, it ain't there. Definitely stuff you want to know within your first 30 days. Let me turn it back on and see if it self-recovers or what it's going to do here. We're going to go back over to this unit, see what it does. Like, I don't even hear the fan running on it. So this is an example. When we tell people you shouldn't go into the BIOS and play with it, right? Unless you're a technical savvy person, you could find yourself in this position. And if you know what to do, have at it. But if you don't know what to do and you're relying on me to show you, I will figure it out, but I don't even know the answer right now. I can tell you, however, just let that run. Maybe just give the BIOS a few seconds to adjust. Ain't nothing happening here. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just stay dumb, because I can now. I can be totally lazy. I can go back over to Gemini and say, I have a Kamrui H1 Mini PC, and I changed SMU to 54 watt, and now the system will not boot or post. No video. And I don't see a CMOS reset. So it's thinking I'm hearing the fan do something. Is it booting? No, I don't think it's gonna boot. Gemini says, use the external reset hole. I just said I don't have one. Unplug the power, unplug the HDMI port, unplug all USB devices. Okay. Locate the pinhole. Look for a small hole marked R reset or CLR CMOS, usually located on the front panel next to the USB ports. Well, if it's there, it's the smallest one I've ever not seen. It's not there. Press and hold it with a paper clip or a SIM eject tool. That's what this is. This is a SIM eject tool for came with a cell phone. Or no, I ordered those off Amazon. Or what else can we do? If the pinhole button is not present, or it just fails to do anything, unplug everything, open the case, disconnect the BIOS battery. Okay. All this because we wanted the numbers to be a little bit higher on Cinebench. Remember that. We just did all this for that one very silly reason. At least I think it's silly. But let's take this apart. If you don't ever mess with it, you'll never have this problem. If you do mess with it, it might work, or you might be right back here. So you might want to check for that CMOS reset hole first, or be ready to take the computer apart, or just leave it alone the way the engineers intended it, or build one yourself. Those are all options, and set your expectations accordingly. And not that Andy was complaining, he was just pointing it out, like, you know, his numbers are a bit low. I'm the one who decided to see if we can do something about it. That falls on me, not on Andy. But I don't normally pay that much attention to the numbers. So it's looking at the numbers that causes this reaction. If you don't look at those numbers, you're fine. Just like if you don't look at the Windows updates, it'll be okay. It's the human reacting that's causing the problems. Is this the screwdriver I used before? Yep. We go to camera 2. There we go. You see I fixed my keyboard after the OBS update. I finally remembered to do that. Well, that sucks. There's no BIOS reset. I don't ever use them. But now that I see it's missing, that's when I needed it. That is Murphy's Law in this industry, and it'll happen every single time it can. It's not just you. And let's pop this off. Where's that? Cutaway is right here. That thermal pad, you know, I thought maybe that was the reason why the NVMe was running maybe hot and running slow, but it's not heat related. But we should put the thermal pad on the NVMe, and the shorter part of the thermal pad should be towards where the screw is. You really, where the hot part of this is that we want to cool is the controller, and that's where it plugs in. But I digress. Here is our BIOS battery, or our CMOS battery here. And all we need to do is just disconnect that. Do not pull it by the wires. They're very thin and fragile. If you need some tweezers or something, I can just use my fingernails and just unplug it and let that sit for a few seconds. And that will absolutely drain the BIOS battery out. And if you want to, you know, speed it along, sometimes pressing the power button when there's no power on it. The machine doesn't know there's no power on it, so it can make that connection internally and then absorb using the power stored in the capacitors to initiate the start. So sometimes you might see the lights blink on and off real quick, mostly with desktops. Not sure about these kind of machines, but it's not hurting. You can do this all day. Create a fidget toy out of it if you want to. So I'm going to let this sit here for a moment with this battery unplugged. Make sure I got it all the way out. It's a tight fit in there. You would probably need to take the board out to get the BIOS battery replaced because it's plugging in. You see where my spudger tool is? Right up against the edge of the case. And I need to pull it back a little more. So maybe bending, you know what, probably maybe just bending this plastic. See how much I can bend that? We can get that piece out of there. But I'm pretty convinced it's not making a connection. And it shouldn't take that long. I mean, by now I would think everything's drained out of it. So I'll just plug that right back in, like so. And I'm assuming I had it all the way out. So just in case I'm wrong, I'm going to leave the bottom off, and we'll go ahead and plug everything back in, and it should be back to factory defaults. The keyword being should be. Look, the power already came on. And let's grab, let's just grab the HDMI right now. I'm not worried about keyboard or mouse. I just want to see if we get any video output out of this. So just those two cables are all I need. And then we'll go over here to this output. See if it spins up on for us. I'm going to power it off here for a second by holding the power button in until the light turns off, usually about 10 seconds. Come on, turn off for me. Okay, and I'll come back over here to camera 1, and let's put myself down in a corner so you can watch this process. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on now. So the light comes on. Once again, just power and HDMI are all I have. And it's going to have to retrain the RAM. This may take a minute, so be patient. We'll make sure we give it enough time. You saw that power light go off and back on again. That's usually a good indication that something just registered and trained and then restarts with those settings. And, you know, see what it does. It's quite possible I didn't leave the battery unplugged long enough, or that I didn't have the battery far enough, the connector, that it, you know, it looked like it was unplugged and maybe it was still connected enough to keep the charge. But this is how I can tell for sure, and that's why I've left the bottom off of it, so I can dive right back in. Always hope for the best. I expect the worst. And there we go, we're booting up again. All that trouble, right? And if you're comfortable with this, you know, knock yourself out, but set your expectations if you're going to go down that path. be ready for the monsters that might await you. So we're going to go ahead and put this bottom back on here. Should go on like that. And we'll put the screws back in it. I think we can go full screen on camera 1 again. Actually, we'll go to camera 2. And we're live. Did you sweat bullets on that one, guys? Now, if you're going to get a significant performance boost, that might be worth the risk. But I'm telling you that performance difference is very, very minor. And if a performance is really that important to you, buy a higher end computer with a better processor. One of the reasons we're looking at this unit is because of its value that it offers for the money, not because it's leading performance or anything like that. That comes at a price, of course. And with the economy being like it is, I don't know about you, but performance is not a luxury I can really afford on anything new. Thankfully, I've got enough of that from before all of this Rampocalypse happened. Oh, I gotta get my Ethernet cable in there. And then one thing, since we reset the BIOS, is I don't know which power mode it defaulted to. You know, the ones we can pick from, performance, balanced, etc. So let's go back over here. See, full screen. I gotta plug my USB dongle in all the way. Now my mouse works. We'll go ahead and do a restart. And I can put my sim tool away. And as it's restarting, I'll start pressing the delete key. That should get us back in the BIOS. Come on now. Should get us back there any day. It's taking a long time. There we go. Advanced OEM features management is a weird place to put it, and it's defaulting to performance mode. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to leave it the hell alone. Once bitten, twice shy. And no blood, no foul. We Control-Z'd that mistake, all right? Control-Z is undo in Windows. A little nerd talk for you. All right. Andy says, I feel a lot better now. You and me both. Hey, there's Mitch Morrison joining us. Welcome in, Mitch. Mitch has a dad joke. He says, how do English teachers get married? They exchange vowels. Ba-dum-bum. That's terrible. Thanks for the terrible joke, Mitch. I was trying to think of one to return. It's sort of like a ping pong match. How come we don't pronounce the word meow in the word homeowner? Homeowner. Homeowner. See? I can tell terrible jokes too. We already knew that, Carey. Oh, well, in case you're new here. Well, they won't be for much longer. All right, any other questions? Anything I can answer for you guys related to tech or related to the computer or related to Windows or networking, NASs? Anything I can pontificate on? This is your turn to chime in. or forever hold your peace, because we will otherwise wrap it up for the day and allow the weekend to begin. As I mentioned on Sunday, we'll be back with part 2 of the minis for NAB 9S. By the way, Minis Forum has a refurbished website. You can buy garage sale pricing from the manufacturer with warranties. The inventory changes often, and most of the time it's all bare bones these days. If it's refurbished, they've stripped the RAM and storage out of it, but it has a proper guarantee. And you might want to check it out if you just Google Minis Forum refurbished. Take a look at the inventory they've got available. It changes often, and there's some real good bargains in there if you're willing to put your own RAM and storage and OS on it. Save you quite a bit of money and still have the peace of mind. If you run into a problem, you've got a warranty and you've got support and you've got drivers. Basically, Minis Forum refurbished is giving you better peace of mind than something brand new from B-Link. I'm not beating up on them. I just want to keep reiterating, if you're just joining us, the after sales support is gone from B-Link. As far as I can tell, they don't answer emails. Drivers and website don't work right. And even in some cases, drivers are completely missing, and you ask for help and nobody says anything back in return. It's just like talking to a wall. So if you do buy that brand, until things change, I would avoid them. That's my recommendation, and you'd do better off with Kamrui or Minis Forum or Ace Magic or Geekom or GMK Tech. Any of those would be far, far better by comparison for about the same price, or possibly even less than B-Link. But it's your money, it's your decision. Again, doesn't mean anything to me if you don't buy or you do. I just want to see you avoid frustration, at least with the computer. I can help you with that. Other things, not so much. Slavko said this was a great video and a real adventure. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. And again, we wouldn't have opened it or needed to if we didn't have interaction. So for better or for worse, the interaction is important, that we can demonstrate real world examples. And, you know, it wasn't until, again, I didn't realize there wasn't a reset BIOS hole in this. They're on everything. Like, I don't know that I've ever seen a mini PC that didn't have that, but I've never ever needed it until today. And it happens to be on the one that doesn't. That's what I'm saying about this issue. It's Murphy's Law. It's not just you. It happens to all of us. Welcome to the club. But there's always another way. Always another way. Just that way would have been faster and easier. You know, pushing a little button in. No big deal. It wasn't that hard anyway. So it took 4 more minutes, you know. So what? Home Yoner. Home Yoner. I'm going to sit here to amuse myself. Andy says, I've learned to look for the BIOS reset hole today. A perfect store. See, now we know. You touch the stove, you get burned. It's not the stove's fault. It's doing what a stove does. You're not mad at the stove. You just avoid touching it when it's hot. It's not personal. Kind of like that. JR Love FG says in the chat room, they've got a question. Can you give information on Microsoft Office activation when you reformat a PC? Well, let's rewind a little bit. Part of me says, why in the world would you reformat a PC? Where I'm going to fall back to is, if you're still like practicing things you've learned years ago and that's how you solve Windows problems, you need to update your education. If you're in a scenario, maybe you got a virus, and the only real safe way to remove the virus is a wipe and a reinstall. If you have a Microsoft account and you have purchased a subscription to Office 365, by signing into your account, you automatically get your Office reinstalled. You're going to pay more for that, all right? You're going to have a subscription. If you were to buy from a license key, like a traditional, what's the word I want? Not a subscription, but a, I can't think of it. Where you activate it once, it likely won't activate again after that because it looks an awful lot like piracy. We're just talking about the way Microsoft handles Office now. So what you can do is you can use backup. Windows 7 backup is in the control panel. You see, if we come back over here, and we've talked about this before, but maybe you're new. But if we go down here and type in control panel, that's the old school control panel from Windows of the past. Microsoft hasn't been able to totally get rid of it. And where it says category, we're going to pick large icons so I can read. Backup and restore, it says Windows 7. You can make a backup, system image backup, without needing any third-party software. And then instead of reformatting, reinstalling, putting all your drivers on, reinstalling all your programs, reinstalling all your activations, all you have to do is restore your system image. It's faster. And it doesn't forget to do things that humans forget to do. It puts everything back in time to the way it was the day you backed it up. You can also download free system image third-party software. You could download Acronis in a 15-day trial. Use Acronis to make your system image. Let your trial expire. Make sure you make an Acronis rescue disk. That you also have to make a rescue disk here to boot from something. And restore your image. Acronis allows restores without activation. But you can only make the backups while you're activated or in trial mode. And there's an older version of Macrium Reflect free out there. You could find it. Or Clonezilla. There's a lot of different ways you can Google it. But so long as you restore on the same hardware, your activations should just automatically go back to the way they were. But again, if you have a Microsoft account and you're on an Office 365 subscription, that probably covers Microsoft Office for however many PCs. Sometimes you get 3 PCs or 5 PCs for the same price, meaning that you could sign into different computers with your same Microsoft account. And it'll also keep all your documents there, so it's a backup as well. But if you want one of these regular licenses and you didn't make a backup, the good news is you can buy Microsoft Office at VIP-URCDKEYs for like 20 bucks. So, you know, depending on the version of Office, you'd have to buy that 5 times before you'd break even on a 1-year subscription. For, let's say, Office 365 is like 100 bucks a year or something. I don't know what it's currently going for. Pretty cheap. You could just not use Microsoft Office. You could use LibreOffice or OpenOffice as alternatives, or Google Write and Google Works. What's it called? And that's like 50 bucks a year. Google Workshop, is it? Can't remember the name of it. See, this is, I'm going to blame AI. I just ask it, what is this? What? And it tells me. I can just pull up my phone. Let me think of all the things and all the words I can't seem to catch. When buying a license for software, there's like a one-time license or a subscription. What's that one-time license called? Perpetual. That's the word I wanted. Okay. The Office suite that Google sells, what's that called? Google Office Suite is called Google Workspace. What'd I say, Workshop? I was close. Anyway, yeah. AI is definitely making me dumber, but I think it's making me happier. I do think ignorance is bliss. So hopefully that helps you understand what to expect and how to prepare for it. But again, I would ask, why are you reformatting? You should not be reformatting. I mean, it tells me if you have to reformat, you screwed something up pretty bad, or you don't know your information on how to fix things is out of date, and you have expired information. It's sort of like, I keep eating the same cheese in the refrigerator, but now it's green and fuzzy and it doesn't taste the same. You got to replace the cheese, okay? If you keep doing what you've always done, the technology is moving, whether you move with it or not. So I encourage you to keep up. Stop reformatting your computer. And if you're just not going to do that, if you're just going to keep reformatting, then just make a system image and restore it. So much faster, so painless. And you can use the built-in Windows 7 tool. Again, you've got to make a rescue boot disk while you're at it. The same holds true for any third-party utility like Acronis or Macrium or anything else out there. There's a lot of options. EaseUS to do backup. There's a bunch of them. And that, when restored, should put your activations back on too. Okay, so I hope that helps you. Or just go buy another copy of another license of Windows. And if you're tired of doing that and you don't want to spend the money, stop reformatting your computer. Or get the Office 365 subscription and sign back into Office and all your crap comes back automatically. Some people just love that Microsoft sign-in because it just does so much for them. And the less computer literate they are, the more they like that. But people that are like tech savvy, they like control. They want to control everything. Sometimes they're making things so difficult on themselves. Ask me how I know. Terrell mentions if you have a retail license of Microsoft Office, you can reinstall it over and over again. But the retail license of Microsoft Office is very, very expensive. So you could buy, this is the point I'm trying to make, you could buy the OEM license or the licenses like VIP-URCDKEY sells probably 15, 20 times before you break even on price. So how many times are you reinstalling Office? I mean, if you're reinstalling it 15 or 20 times, there's a problem, but it ain't got to do with Office. It's a different problem, and it's one involving education. That's where we need the computer left alone, and the user needs to be updated, not the computer. Or the user can remain doing everything the hard way and wasting a lot of time if they want to be stubborn. But you're not hurting anybody but yourself. It's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. How does that work? So we're here to help you. We're not here to make fun of it. But I am trying to add a little levity and a little humor, because it is a little absurd, if you see it the way I see it, that anybody would still be doing that today, other than make once out of a blue moon. It does happen. But it shouldn't be common for anybody. It should be like once every 10 years, maybe once every 5 years if it's excessive. Anyway, that's my opinion. And thank you for the information, Terrell. But the retail copy of Office is very expensive. You'd be much better off in that case. If you were my customer and I was advising you, I would tell you just get Office 365 on a subscription. It's much cheaper, and you'll never have this problem. Slavko says, I don't like Gemini because it says it can't say I don't know. Oh, you're not asking it the right questions. Ask it how to build a bomb and see what it tells you. Ask it how to counterfeit money. There's a lot of things it'll tell you. I don't know that. It might not use those words, but it's basically saying no information. Eugene Hidalgo joins us in the chat and says hello. Tom Jackson says hello. Miss seeing him jump in there. I don't know how long he's been in there. And, I'm not seeing any other questions. There's Frankie B. He says, sorry, I'm late. I've been working. I love that excuse. Working should always come first. Good to see you, my friend. I hope you're not working now. Maybe it's the end of the day and your weekend has begun, I hope. All right, guys. Thank you to Maralina, our channel administrator, for all the work she does in prepping our videos and doing all the video notes. And she's been in discussion with some other companies trying to get us some things to review. Better her than me, because, man, they can go back. It's not a simple yes or no with most of these companies. We have 10 million questions before we send you anything. If it were me, I'd say never mind. Talk about looking a gift horse in the mouth. But she'll go back and forth with them. Better her than me. She also is the main source of responding to your emails. So you're getting responses to emails now faster than ever, because I was doing everything all by myself and I just can't do it all. I'm so grateful to have her help and to acknowledge the amount of time and effort she puts into stuff. You guys would never know. It's a lot of work. Of course, our friends over at VIP-URCDKEYs for extending the offer that I have as a system builder and a managed service provider professionally, that you guys at home can benefit from the same pricing I get. I think that's pretty amazing they do that. And again, I personally guarantee those products work. They will activate. They are real. You can inspect it and do whatever research and investigation you want to do. It's real. And Microsoft approves it. They may not approve the way it's being sold, but as for what's being sold being legit, Microsoft, of course, intends for those licenses to be for system integrators like myself. But it doesn't mean the key isn't legit, and it can save you a ton of money. They've been around. VIP-URCDKEYs has been around a number of years. So for anybody who thinks that's not legal, explain to me how Microsoft doesn't know about it and why Microsoft isn't doing anything about it after, what's it been, 10 or 13 years they've been around. You can Google it. Microsoft has offices in countries all over the world, and they have lawyers and everything else in all these other countries. If they want something gone, it's gone. It won't exist for 10 plus years. I mean, that right there is something to be aware of. Just that. And again, if that's not enough, investigate further. If you find anything, let me know, because I can't find anything, but it's the same thing, just a cheaper price than what Microsoft is selling. Okay. Before, for me to get that kind of pricing, I used to have to order like a couple dozen keys at a minimum. And it would take me a long time to go through them. And if I found out that a key didn't work, then they would usually replace the key, but I didn't need it 2 weeks from now. I need it now, and I'd have to mail them back the old keys. They were on certificates of authentication. Microsoft doesn't do that stuff anymore. All that's gone away. So just so you know. And I was paying more for those keys in bulk than I'm buying individual keys from VIP-URCDKEYs, and I'm getting the keys within 2 minutes. And if the key doesn't work, I'm getting answers and resolutions from their chat. That's why I can confidently stand behind it with my own money and promise you, you're getting a real key, and it will activate automatically. And if there's any problems, they'll help you within 6 months of your purchase, guaranteed. Otherwise, guaranteed I will. But it's such little money, we're not extending that beyond 6 months. You got to pay more for that. Well, for that, why don't I just buy another key? Now we're communicating. Okay. And I want to shout out a thank you to our friend Buster, of course, as always, for his continued support and generosity here. And thank you for the membership renewals from Shamim Kajvirez and Ron Varnish. Thank you guys for renewing membership. And thank you for the $5 super chat from Westside Lord, who says, love your channel, Carey. Keep up the great work. Well, as long as you guys are here to encourage me, I'm not going anywhere. So thank you so much for supporting us here so we can be independent away from sponsorships that would compel our speech or dictate what we can or cannot show you on the channel. I don't want to do videos like that. I'm not a game show host. I have nothing against game show hosts. I just don't want to be one. That's all. And with that, I hope everybody has a great weekend ahead. Try and stay out of the heat. Hot everywhere. And we'll see you back here Sunday, 1 o'clock Phoenix time. That's right now Pacific time, Phoenix time. You can always Google wherever you are in the world, what time is it in Phoenix? And Google will tell you the current time. And you can do the math, look at your clock, and you'll see the time difference between us. It is making us dumber, but I think it's also making us happier. We'll see what the future holds. In the meantime, I look forward to seeing you all again on Sunday, and until then, bye for now.